Journalism is Dead, part 396. Writers who have no idea what they're talking about write stories about nonsense, and I have no idea why. Take a look at this story from Gizmodo. 7:20 a.m. What is this? Is this viewer count? The little fire? I don't know what the fire means. 143,000. Bitcoin surges 15% overnight because nobody learned their lesson after the last crash. Okay. I hope you're Bitcoin fans, but if you're not, don't worry. We're going to talk about the failures of journalism right now. Bitcoin, the most popular cryptocurrency in the world, jumped to a 4-month high overnight, briefly breaching 5,000 on the Bitstamp exchange. Bitcoin is up roughly 15% on the day, and traders are excited because it really seems like nobody learned their lesson during the last cryptocurrency bubble. This guy has no idea what he's talking about. Here we have an example of a Gizmodo story, and Gizmodo is supposed to be tech news, from somebody who doesn't know. He literally doesn't know what Bitcoin is. It's very obvious. He hasn't tracked Bitcoin's history. And again, this is not about Bitcoin. I know a lot of people are like, I don't know or care about it. This is about, this guy's not a journalist. It's like they took a random guy and said, write something. There's something called the Gell-Mann amnesia effect. Many of you probably know what this is if you watch my videos. Gell-Mann amnesia is when you look at a newspaper and you see a story in which you are an expert. I am not an expert in Bitcoin, but I know a lot about it. I see the story and I say, wow, this story's wrong. But when you click the next story, how BioWare's Anthem went wrong, you click it, you read it, and you go, wow, I didn't know that. Why would I believe any of these other stories are true if this story is false? That's Gell-Mann amnesia, that you forget the story you just read was total BS. And this is what we're seeing in journalism today. But let's read on. As CNBC notes, the reason for the sudden price jump wasn't immediately clear, and it would all be pretty funny if it wasn't so sad. Bitcoin hit a record high of 19,783 in December of 2017 after months of hype in the popular press. Plenty of people got in when the cryptocurrency was expensive and smart people cashed out, right? Leaving average folks with huge losses. By December of 2018, Bitcoin had bottomed out at around 3,400. But it looks like speculators might ride the roller coaster again, because right now I guess it's at 47. Here we go. I'm gonna explain this to you if you're not a Bitcoin fan, how this is all entirely fake news, and I have no idea. Look, it's easy for me to read a story like this and know it's totally fake. Think about the average person reading stories about Trump, for instance. It's the same thing. To be clear, Bitcoin is absolutely worthless by any real measure. Excuse me? It's trading at around $5,000. So clearly, I understand where you're going with this, but let's just stop there and say, no, it's not worthless. Confidence dictates currency. The US dollar is valuable because of the confidence in it, meaning if someone hands me money, I know that money is good for something, which means I'm excited to take it. There's demand. That's all you really need. But let's be real. Bitcoin is extremely valuable, probably beyond the price it's currently selling for, not as a currency, as a technology. Let's read on though. He says it's fake money that's about as practical to use in the real world as monopoly bills. My God. Okay. Let's say you need to send money overseas. It's actually really complicated. Let's say you want to transfer money to your bank to another bank. It's actually somewhat complicated. Here's what I can do. If I have cryptocurrency, I can click a button, I can take your address, click send, and that currency is now assigned to your address. Essentially, you have it. You can then sell it immediately for the full value. You don't got to worry about speculation. The value of Bitcoin is completely meaningless. Look at it this way. If today a Bitcoin costs $1,000 and I buy one Bitcoin, send it to you, and then you sell it immediately at a local exchange for $1,000, I just effectively sent you $1,000. You're not going to hold on to it. You're going to trade it out immediately, or you could if you want. The point is, the price of Bitcoin is irrelevant if I'm just trying to send you that value. Imagine let's say I want to send you a piece of gold. I got to mail it to you. It's got to be physically transferred to you. Cryptocurrency, they're essentially, whether you want to call it digital gold or not, it's a digital asset that can be transferred nearly instantly. It's not perfect. But this way you can send, so it is valuable. It also takes energy to produce. This guy did no research. Gizmodo. Are you surprised? As it becomes more difficult to mine, it saps more and more energy. Oh, you clearly realize that the backing of this currency is the energy required to produce it. Thus, the price can only really go up. Not to mention, there's a finite amount of Bitcoin, meaning over time it will become more scarce as the demand either remains static or increases, which will result in the value of it going up. A Bitcoin can also be broken down to 8 decimal points, meaning there's technically substantially more coins. It can go all the way down, causing millions of tons of carbon dioxide to be pumped into the atmosphere and accelerating climate change. What is this guy talking about? He said Bitcoin is little more than a speculator's death cult at this point. Bitcoin is so rife with scam artists that Google and Facebook banned cryptocurrency advertisements on their platforms last year. Yeah, and there's also fake news problems. There's also the problem of protecting the money of people who buy into an exchange where the founder dies. That is a problem. That's an issue of the business, not the technology. Okay, let me explain something. Cryptocurrency is a way to create a non-copyable digital asset. When you have a song online, I can copy it infinitely. So it's valueless. It's infinite. There's no scarcity. Cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin first created digital scarcity, which was really impressive. It's very, very brilliant. But Bitcoin doesn't just need to be a currency. It can regulate distributed systems. It's a little complicated, but there are a lot of people who are using what's called Ethereum. It's an advancement on the idea of a cryptocurrency. I'm not going to get too technical, but this Ethereum allows you to effectively create smart contracts, systems. So if this, then that, essentially. If X occurs, Y will be triggered. This can be done automatically through the exchange of currencies. These currencies can be used to identify vehicles and autonomous systems, rapidly assign unique identifiers to like autonomous cars, things like this. Or think about how you can use a non-copyable digital asset as a digital key of some sort. The technology goes beyond just my, comprehension of the technology because I'm not an inventor who works in the space. But there are companies I've looked into and briefly invested in that do things like facilitate exchanges between trade mediums. So think about it this way. One Bitcoin is unique and can't be copied. They assign a cryptocurrency to, say, a piece of gold. Now you have digitally stamped that gold, and and so you can use you can assign a digital key card to a certain object. There's currency exchanges that are trying to use the rapid transferability of crypto to actually function as a massive international network. So this guy, I don't know if I have anything here. Okay, no, this guy's profile. We'll read on. But that hasn't stopped people from buying heavily into the cryptocurrency scam, he says, even as smaller cryptocurrencies have shriveled into nothing. Let's talk about it this way. Let's replace cryptocurrency with website. Websites are a scam. Websites have crashed. People invested tens of thousands of dollars. Yeah, remember the dot-com bubble? He's effectively doing the same thing. How is it that, I don't know, why does it say CNBC? Oh, okay, it's where he's citing. How do you end up with someone who clearly knows nothing about a story writing for Gizmodo? No, for real. And let's you know what? I want to see the comments, definitely. Let's see what the comments say. Someone says, I like paying an extra 3% on everything I buy because only Visa and MasterCard are real money. When you use Visa, this is a really good point too. When you use Visa and MasterCard, for instance, they take a percentage and the merchant typically pays this. With Bitcoin, there is a transaction fee to maintain the network, just like with Visa or MasterCard. However, with other cryptocurrencies and the implementation of new technologies like the Lightning Network, they can reduce the cost. And listen, ultimately, it's a decentralized network. This guy doesn't know what he's talking about, but he did respond. He said, standing in line at Target to buy a frozen pizza. What do you mean you don't accept Bitcoin? This is tyranny. I demand to speak with your manager. By that logic, Discover Card isn't money. This guy really has no idea what he's talking about. Someone said, the actual way a Bitcoiner would say, don't you know that all fiat money is made up money? I don't know. Ron Paul 2012. Look at this guy. So here's the other thing. Why is this writer going into the comments of an article he wrote and just ragging on people? Someone said, Matt, perhaps you need to reevaluate the lesson. Bitcoin has value because of the proof of work it represents. It cannot be printed or inflated like the worthless paper you call money. And he just responds, LOL. Let's go back up to this one. There's 19 replies on this. Someone said, you do realize the very payment systems being set up behind Visa, MasterCard, Western Union are most major banks, and most major banks are now cryptos, right? How do you think money is going to move? Banks aren't stupid. They see the writing on the wall. Currently, it is faster to get on a plane and deliver cash to China than it is to have it settled. Electronic transition, unless, of course, you are using crypto. This guy, Matt, is a dope. So what does Matt do? He jumps into his own comment section, start ragging on people because he doesn't know what he's talking about. Congratulations. News in today's day and age, and look, the views are going up. I hope people see this story and recognize not just this, but this is just a really good example of, for one, I have no idea why this guy Matt is so angry, why he hates Bitcoin so much. Could you imagine if I wrote a story about, I don't know, billiards, and I said people who play billiards are so stupid, I can't believe they fall. Like, you don't know anything about it. Why would they have someone write about something they just don't know? And of course, over on Twitter, here's someone who said, who wrote this dirt? Ask Venezuela. Yes, people in Venezuela who have government restrictions are relying on cryptocurrencies to bypass it. And they're actually taking the crypto keys in QR codes on physical objects, as I mentioned earlier. Lesson learned from last crash. Hold another 2 to 3 years and get 1,000% gains. Look, someone said, it's funny to read that something that I can sell for 3 to 5K USD is absolutely worthless. No, it's not absolutely worthless if it can sell for $5,000. And I can at least until some point. Of course, it teases scammers like honey teases bees, but what about USD? No scams? Imagine if someone wrote an article saying, I can't believe people fall for the scam of US dollars because the Federal Reserve keeps running quantitative easing and devaluing the dollar and there's inflation. When will they learn? No. It's just a good example of how the media is dead. And I'll tell you what I think this is. Bitcoin is surging. People are searching for it. So he wrote nonsense to get those sweet views. And it doesn't matter because it's on him, not Gizmodo. Anyway, I got one more story coming up in a few minutes. I will see you then.